obviously, I mean, you guys, your guys' offense is playing very well, you know, top of the nation in points per game. When you look at the film, I mean, is there anything that you go in and nitpick? I mean, obviously things are going well, but what would you like to see get better?
We had 3 and out Saturday. So, I mean, there's always things on film that you can improve on, and all of them were self-inflicted wounds, really. I mean, we missed a throw, we dropped one. What was the other one? I can't remember exactly what the other one was off the top of my head, but they were all like routine plays, gettable plays, right? So yeah, there's always things left out there, and there's always, I mean, we had a huge lull in the second quarter. That's kind of glaring, right? So.
All that said, some of
So
the
that's it.
some of the throws that Cam's making, I know he has a couple that you wish he hadn't
Yeah.
thrown, but the level that he's playing at, is it exceeding your expectations?
Yeah, I mean, he always, you know, does things, in my opinion, that, you know, kind of wow you at times. You know, I like the routine plays, like I keep saying that, like the stuff that he does, extending plays, obviously is excellent. We'll take that. Some of that stuff works out great. Some of it works out not so great, you know, but I'm a big fan of routine plays. You know, I really am. And so I stress that probably more than anything. His ability to get the ball out quick is probably one of the better things that he does. He gets that ball out quick.
So as a follow-up to that, how big of an adjustment has it been for you as a coach who's been doing this for a while? I mean, he's a very unique player, obviously, but you've probably had to adjust a little bit in what you tolerate, what you expect, what your scheme is going to look like.
I don't know. I mean, I do think you get players, not just the quarterback position, but obviously that's the one that touches the ball every time, right? So you're going to try to do things that they're comfortable doing and that they do well, you know. And there was a lot of conversations when Cam got here about things he's done in the past, things we do, you know, adding some stuff that he really liked, you know, which wasn't extremely complicated. I mean, it was just stuff that we probably already had, and really focusing on those things. But everybody's that way. I mean, you try to figure out, and when you have a guy for 1 year, it's a little tougher, because when you have a guy for 2 or 3 years, that's a little easier, because you get to know each other a lot more. You play a lot of games, experience, and the rest. But when you have a guy for 1 year, all that stuff, you have to speed it up. You have to speed it up. So spending a lot of time and having honest conversations at the beginning on the front end is vitally important. And so Cam's the kind of guy, though, that he's very forthcoming with what he likes, you know, which I appreciate that. I like that. I think you need to have that right there, to be a high belief in yourself and to know what you like. And so it's pretty easy with him, really.
With him, I mean, every kid likes what they like.
Yeah, but not everybody can articulate it.
Or like the right thing, or
Right.
understand why this is
Right.
the better way. Is that maybe the characteristic that sets him apart? I mean, there's other guys with quick releases, there's other guys that can
Yeah.
play. Cam's understanding.
Yeah.
It seems like that's the intangible that maybe.
It is, and I think too, part of it is understanding why we don't do certain things, you know, because there's not everything that gets brought up gets done. And so I think that having an open mind on my end and his end helped, because there's a lot of things that get talked about, right? There is a tipping point in offensive football where you just do too much, where guys aren't good at anything, you know, because it isn't just about one guy. Cam might be able to understand it, and I might be able to understand it, but I got to have those 10 other guys out there in the right place and executing it at the right time too. And so there is a tipping point of just amount of stuff that once you exceed that tipping point, problems can happen. There's issues on both sides. Not having enough, you get into all these, you know, where people kind of can sit on you, you know. You want to be right there where you feel like your guys are executing at a high level. It looks extremely complicated from the other side, or looks like it might be multiple things. So there is a tipping point, and so not everything that gets talked about gets to the end of the week. And a lot of times, to be just honest, we talk about stuff on Sundays, we rep it, some of the stuff gets cut, some of the stuff makes it. It's just all about, and we sit and watch it, and we're like, you know, I just don't really see the see the plan in this, right? What's the progression? And he'll be very honest towards the end of the week too, of where it's like, I don't like this, this, and this. So immediately we cut that out. So those conversations at the end of the week happen every week.
So when you're, I don't even know if you do a true script.
We do.
Okay. Is Cam's involved?
Yeah, I mean, he's involved in the sense of when we come up here and start game planning, I mean, everybody's involved. So when everything comes together, I think that's why they call it coordinating, right? Like Coach Mirabal, Matt, Cody, you know, they'll get together and have a lot of run game ideas, right? 11 personnel and all the rest, all the sets, right? And so I'll get all the pass game stuff and kind of just group it all together and then cut out, and because you only can take so many into a game, right? And then Cam comes in whenever they come in on Sunday or whatever, whenever he comes in, and he has already watched everything and he's got, you know, a handful of ideas that he likes. Some of them are great and some of them just don't fit, right? And so it's a collaboration of really offensively everybody in the building, but I've always given the quarterback, my whole career, the quarterback's had input in the game plan. I mean, you got to.
I wanted to ask you too about, we're at the time of year where some quote-unquote feature backs in the
Mhm.
country are pushing 200 carries.
Yep.
Danny's got 104, Mark's got 77. What sort of an advantage is that they don't?
But if you put them together, that's 200.
You do, but look, you have to put all the dings on them together because you're
Right.
spreading it out. What sort of an advantage is that you don't have a guy with as many miles as?
Yeah, I mean, they're not banged up, they're fresh, and I always kind of point back to this is, you know, they also support each other, which is huge. You know, there would be huge issues if there was a different mentality with that group and also other groups in the building, offense and defense. And so the fact that both of those guys play well off each other, there was multiple times in the game Saturday that both of them were in the game at the same time. And so that didn't happen by accident. You know, both of those guys are playing really well. So, you know, utilizing those guys in different ways is important, but ultimately there's one ball, right? And so every play that ball's got to go to one guy. And so, you know, really the goal is if we can just stay focused on the week and really be a great teammate, you know, and really be happy for when somebody else makes a play. You know, I know that's hard today, right? Because everybody wants theirs and then how is this affecting everything else around me? But guys have really bought into that and I appreciate that.
But why isn't it hard here?
I'm talking about in this society.
No, I know, but it hasn't been hard for this team from day one. And especially in this era of this NIL era where guys
Yeah.
are being compensated based on how they perform and somehow
Well,
you
two
guys have
things.
bucked the norm on what a lot of coaches in the country are probably pulling their hair out.
Well, I mean, in my opinion, there's two things. Like one is we're having success, right? The moment that doesn't happen, then, you know, things, you know, it's easy to chit chat, do all the rest. But that doesn't always happen. You know, success doesn't always equal that mentality. I do think we have a lot of leaders, I mean, starts with the coaches, right? And the first meeting, the tone was set of, because I could see there's a lot of talented guys in the room. And so just pushing a servant mentality was important to me. Like pushing a servant mentality to this group to where they're truly serving their brother. It isn't about them. It isn't about one person. And Cam kind of took that also. Because when I recruited him, I told him, I said, I don't know how many passing yards you're going to have. I'm not promising you all this other stuff. I'm promising you a chance to play on a team and be a leader that can win every game we play if we do it the right way. And so I think it starts with him and then, you know, it trickles down to everybody. And I do think that if you have the top people pushing a certain narrative or pushing a certain belief, then you know, it'll catch on. You know, attitudes are funny. I mean, my dad used to always talk about, he was a motivational speaker, he would speak to groups, but, you know, it's caught, not taught. You know, and if you can get enough people acting a certain way, then that'll permeate the group. And I think that's what has happened with these guys. I think they truly believe in the narrative, but they also see the benefits of having a servant mentality.
As far as Georgia Tech, Coach Chris Wall mentioned, play up front with their defensive line, so you'd be key. Just what are your thoughts on that defense?
I think they're very active, they're very athletic, They do a really good job on defense, and their subtle movements up front and the way the three, the front to middle to back end fit together is pretty unique in my opinion. They do an excellent job on third downs. I mean, last week Duke was first in the conference on third downs, and now this week, they're the first in the conference, just the way the stats laid out. So they're really good. If they get you in third and medium and third and long, they typically get you off the field. And so our challenge, again, this week is to be great on third down and really manage the game in a way where we don't really have third and longs, because their third down defense is challenging. It's really good.
Well, which I think that they have Orton, maybe it's like one of those things where you learn a song and you start hearing it all the time, but it seems like he's doing very well with those slant routes.
Yeah.
What makes him so good at that?
I think he's a big-bodied guy with strong hands, and those guys typically are good at in-breaking routes. I think overall as a receiver group, we're pretty good at in-breaking routes, slant routes and stuff. He's really good at it because he's big and strong. He's a strong guy.
Shannon, Elijah Lofton scored a touchdown.
Yeah.
Has had many touches in games since
Yeah.
play started, but to see him have a moment like that, and for you guys have to trust him to be able to produce a moment like that.
Oh, we have the utmost trust in him. He's going to have an unbelievable career here. The kid's extremely talented. His attitude's off the chart. He's one of those guys that just is the same person every single day. And to see that happen in the game is awesome, but he's going to have a lot of those moments in his career here. It shows up every day with him. He's in a very talented room. He knows that. And, but he gets a lot of plays and, offense, special teams and everything. He's doing a lot of good things. And so, everything that he's doing is pointing in the right direction.
How excited was he, you say you're on a fullback and you're just going to run straight up to the pile and go for the end zone. How excited does he get to do that?
Well, it was, in his mind, he was going to score regardless. And so I just told him, just make sure that we secure the handoff. And he said, if you give me the ball, then I'm going to score. So he's a pretty confident dude. And I was very confident that he would get in.
You guys lead the country in the fourth quarter points per game. I'm curious, how much of that, going back to Cam and his unique skills, is he special with kind of downloading what a defense is doing during the course of the game and figuring out early in the game and then being able to execute in the fourth quarter?
I do think rhythm matters. Having the iPad on the sideline matters. The game has changed with technology and what we're allowed to do. So we can watch the drive, which is honestly, the NFL's been doing it for years, but that does give you an insight that we didn't have. And a guy like him, he watches it and he goes and coaches people up and we watch it together and we do make adjustments through the course of the game. We made quite a few in this past game because people do tend to play us a little different. We're not always going to get what we see on tape. We're kind of a unique deal in that way. So there are going to be certain adjustments that we're going to have to make through the course of the game. But it doesn't come from just him. There's a lot of people watching it, and like Coach Mirabal does a great job up front, and then everybody just has input, and we try to, whatever the plays are on the script, you try to get to the good ones as quick as you can get, and kind of just keep narrowing that down. It's almost like what I was talking about with the game plan through the week. You try to narrow it down. It's the same thing through the game. You're trying to get down to the core plays that are the best plays in that game. And a lot of times when it's on the line in the fourth quarter and you really got to press the tempo, it's probably when he's the best,
We'll do a few more.
How big was the O-line? Because Duke was a high-pressure team coming in, and it seemed like he had a lot of time to throw most of the game.
I thought the pockets were elite. I thought the protection Saturday was the reason we won the game. We had some pockets that were just as clean as you can get, and so, but in the run game I thought was really good too. The way they layered the defense, we didn't get like a big run, but we hit a lot of 10, 15, 20-yard runs, and so that kept the chains rolling and kept us in phase, which was huge. But I thought they did an excellent job up front for all the stuff that that they were doing on third down, I mean, the protection was really elite.
There's no seed. Do you ever get used to Cam doing things like, running into a defender, just running away and, getting away from the pressure like that?
I don't know about used to it. I mean, you expect him to get out of stuff because he's hard. He's a hard guy to bring down. The only thing I just keep harping on ball security. With the whole group really. But I mean, just taking care of the ball and obviously extending plays like that's awesome. In today's football, really, it's the difference in being able to extend plays and keep your eyes downfield and all the rest. So, but you ultimately have to take care of the football too.
Speaking of taking care of the football, he had that pick where he's done it before this season where he's scrambling, he kind of just throws it across his body and kind of floats a little bit. I think he goes, well, I can make that throw and I'm probably going to do that again. So much you talking about that thing. Maybe don't do exactly that again.
Well, I mean, yeah, exactly. But I will say this. I appreciate the fact that he's always attacking. Like he is always trying to end it. He's always trying to score. Now my job is harnessing that to where it doesn't go the other way, right? And to his credit, bad things are going to happen. I mean, football is athletics in general. How you respond to bad things is the biggest determining factor of how good you can be. Talent's one thing, but if you let negative stuff affect you and you clam up, then you're not going to have the success you want. And I will say with him, it never affects him. I mean, he'll do something and have a negative outcome. He's a very clear-minded guy on the sideline, always looking for the next play, and he scored within the next 2 plays. And so, I can live with that. I can't live with the other, like, if you let that stuff affect you, it would bother me more. But the fact that there is a move-on mentality, and the mentality stays exactly the same as far as attack, I'm gonna have to live with a little bad with everybody because nobody that's ever played this game, played it perfectly. People make mistakes and interceptions are gonna be thrown. Now, you hate them. You don't want them to obviously come in those situations, but there's never a game that's been played where negative plays didn't happen.
You mentioned Whitman did.
Yeah.
The people need to know what's their post-game visit Saturday.
What's the what now?
Whitman did. The people want to know if there was a post-game visit on Saturday.
I didn't go Saturday, no. I had, what did I do Saturday? So I went home, I actually grilled some steaks Saturday, and my daughters went to the Taylor Swift concert, right? And so Baker and Aislinn put on, because I couldn't go because I had to work, so they put on the Taylor Swift concert for me, like they did it. And so both of them did an excellent job, and so I was hoping that would inspire them, and it looks like it has. So.
But most importantly, rare, medium.
Oh, medium. Yeah. Sometimes medium plus it's certain, but a medium, yeah, you can't like, yeah. Nothing more than medium.